We will now proceed with a presentation of violence against women through addressing pornography, main challenges and best practices by Natalia Batenkova and Andreas Kahlen. Yes, they are two speakers from Unison, a Swedish association of over 140 women's shelters, young women empowerment centers, and other specialized support services working together for a gender equal society free from violence. And from Men is also a Swedish organization, a Swedish member-based non-profit. Since 1993, they have been working to advance gender equality, combat men's violence, and redefine masculinity. These are the two organizations that we will be hearing from now. Welcome, Natalia and Andreas.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Just add to the picture of Unison that our member organizations work with protection and support of women and children subjected to men's violence. And we at Unison, as well as our member organizations, work on violence prevention and advocacy, both on the local level and on the national level. And the base of our work is the knowledge and skills of our member organizations that work with the issue of men's violence every day, and their extensive knowledge on violence on the one hand, gender and power on the other hand, and the interrelations between them.
And as said, Men, we've been around since 1993, and we challenge norms and try to change norms. As you can see, the man box on this slide, we will come back to that later in this presentation. We try to prevent violence, especially men's violence against women and girls, but men's violence in general. So we meet a lot of fathers, so we promote the caregiving by fathers, and we also support boys and young men. So we meet them in our forum, anonymous chat, and counseling center where I work, and I will tell you more about how we talk about porn.
So yeah, why are we talking about pornography in the context of men's violence against women and girls? Well, that is simply because what we see in pornography is violence, and over 40 years of research on the topic clearly show it. For instance, it is evident that the absolute majority of the most seen, the most popular pornographic scenes contain physical violence. And by that, we mean, for instance, women being slapped, pulled by the hair, gagged and choked to the point that they can no longer breathe, and these kind of acts. About half of pornography scenes contain verbal aggression, like calling women by degrading names. What is also important to highlight here is that women in pornography react either neutrally or positively to the violence committed to them, which practically means that the pornography's message is that women either do not mind the violence or they even like to be treated like that. On top of that, pornography is extremely racist and sexist, and of course confirming and reinforcing all the existing harmful norms and stereotypes around it. What pornography, on the other hand, doesn't show is consent, respect, closeness, intimacy. It doesn't contain any dialogue on STDs and other risks connected to sex, nothing about condom use, equality in relationships, and it practically doesn't contain any dialogue at all. So all the things that I have just mentioned are important for us to understand so that we understand how pornography and violence are interrelated. We see that pornography shapes our understanding of sex and sexuality, our attitudes, our behaviors. and it actually blurs the lines between sex and violence. And it is especially true for children and youth whose sexuality today is shaped by pornography. There is a research in the United States, Australia, Sweden, Spain, many other countries, and all this research practically show the same trends. We see that pornography is very much present in children and youth everyday life, and that it has a huge impact on their sexual health and their overall well-being. Here you see just some of the examples, some of the statistics from a research in the United States, Sweden, and Spain. For instance, over 50% of adolescents in Spain have been exposed to pornography for the first time between the age of 6 and 12. And the picture looks pretty much the same in other countries. By the age of 16, practically all boys and around half of girls in Sweden have seen or have been exposed to pornography. 26% of 18-year-old boys in Sweden watch pornography every day and oftentimes several times a day. So we see that on the one hand, children and youth are being exposed, regularly exposed to sexualized violence presented by pornography. And let's think for a moment, if children are being exposed to these kind of violent acts that I named before, but in the other context, for instance, in the context of domestic violence. For instance, seeing a father strangling a mother, would we see it as something acceptable or something normal? And the simple answer is no. And we see that the legislation in many countries is protecting children from this kind of experiences. But if we put it in the context of pornography, somehow we are not able to follow the same logic. So on the other hand, children and youth learn the scripts that pornography teaches them. And as a result, we see how boys perpetrate violence against their partners, often without any understanding that the things that they are doing are violent. Neither do youngsters understand that the things perpetrated to them is sexualized violence. Here we have just a few examples from our member organizations' chats and helplines when young boys and young girls write to us with their questions and concerns. How can it hurt less? A young girl is wondering. My boyfriend watches a lot of porn and wants me to do all the stuff he sees. A young boy is writing and asking, why can't I just get her to like it? We also see a growing trend when young people, especially young girls, writing and wondering whether they have to agree to be strangled. And they have questions about the so-called breath play, or how we would call it sex with strangulation. Unizone and Men have been working with the issue of pornography, addressing it in different ways in the work with children and youth for many years. But at the same time, we see that the adult world doesn't take enough responsibility to help youngsters navigate this world and these issues. So that's why we think that the action should be taken by more actors.
Okay, so as Natalia said, we work with this together, and it's really important for us at Men and Killar.se to learn and to hear from all the Unizone's work and what the mostly girls are asking in their support chats and in their services, because they're a piece of the puzzle compared to what the young men and boys talk to us about. So Killar.se is the largest platform for support for young men and boys in Sweden. And for 16 years, we had about 70,000 chats with boys and young men. So we know quite a lot what they think about and want to talk about when they don't have to look someone in the eyes or sit in the same room when they speak to someone. So When it comes to porn, so the most common question that we get in the chat, but also in the counseling center, is that they want us to help them to stop watching porn. They talk about the impact on their daily life, their relationship, and their overall sexual health. It decreases. It's getting worse. They miss soccer practice. They stay home. They stay up all night. They miss school because they watch porn instead. And we know from national surveys that we made that 7 out of 10 in some degree have changed their view on what sex is and how they are having sex because of their porn consumption. We don't know exactly what, because the survey didn't ask on how did you change your view. But when we compare it, when we put it together with what they tell us in the chat, we can see that they are concerned mostly about the violent parts and things they want to do or feel that they need to do. It's also very common that porn and masturbation are fully connected 100%. So when they come to us and think about stop watching porn, their solution is total abstinence from all sexual practices. And because they can't see any other way to do this than just stop being a sexual being in full. So when you Google like porn addiction, it's very easy to find like Reddit and NoFap movement and stuff like that, which on the surface look quite all right, like an AA group or NA group. Like you get a medal if you compete and you can make 3 months without any masturbation or porn watch. But when you go deeper, like the former presentation told you about, it's very connected to the far right movement and the manosphere. So you can hear a lot of the same values, the reasoning in these forums as well. So we don't want the young men to end up in these forums. We rather want them to speak with us. Another thing that is very common is that they are making a huge difference between the mainstream porn sites and what they think are amateur or OnlyFans. So they are buying all the myths from the industry, like that OnlyFans creators have control over their material. They make a lot of money. It's very easy to get rich. They make all the choices themselves. You know, all that myths. We can see that it's very common among our visitors that they think this. We can also see that they don't recognize violence in porn, and we learn that how they define violence is very different from how we define it. So that's something that we work with on all levels when we work with youth. What is violence? So when we ask them, have you seen violence in porn? Only 7% say yes. But the same group of young men are answering, as you can see, a total different level of what we think is violence when they get asked those questions directly. So it's very important for us to be very direct and strict when we talk about violence. What is violence? How can violence look like? And some of the guys that we talk to, they often use porn or porn addiction to casually explain their use of force and sexual violence. Like you can see in this, the bubble to the right, it was my porn addiction that drove me to post nudes on my girlfriend online. I got a thrill when others commented on her body. So this is important context of porn, but we can never have it as a casual explanation for the choice of use force or sexual violence to someone else. So it's very important to see this. We also learned that there's a huge gap between how many young boys that do have a positive attitudes and how many that think that other boys has a positive attitude. There's a huge gap. There's only 17% that says in survey that they are positive towards pornography, but they think that the boys in their same age group are positive. And I think we all of the society are making this norm or this truth all the time that boys and young men loves porn and are positive to it. But when they answer the survey, that's not true. We also know that many of them would like to watch less. 4 out of 10 overall, but amongst the young people that watches the most, 6 out of 10 would like to watch less. And these are the young people that we meet, of course, because we are a support center and a support chat. So if you don't have any, issues, then maybe you don't come to us. So we meet mostly this group that want to talk about it. And they are very clear. They want to talk with adults about this, but they need us to initiate this talk. And they don't have a problem to talk with it. I think we are mostly having problem to bring it up with the young kids because we don't know how to, maybe, or we feel unsafe doing so. So in our counseling center, where I and 2 colleagues work, we have this guideline that is partly translated for WWP. As you can see, you can find it on the website. And when we meet young men that are violence against their intimate partners mostly, and we ask everyone about porn consumption because we want to understand their sexual script, their understanding about what sex is and what you can expect from your mostly girlfriend. Almost everyone's is in a heterosexual relationship. So we want to understand the sexual script so we can talk about that. We also learned that it's better if we ask them, how often do you watch, instead of do you watch? Because we noticed that it's easier to be honest when we ask how often. Then they can tell us 3 times a week or so. But if we ask, do you watch, it's much easier to say no at first, and then we have to circle back. So if they don't ever watch porn, they just say so. But if they do, we feel that it's easier for them to be honest, to tell us how much they do. Because we implicate that many of the young men we talk about do watch a lot of porn, which is true also. We also work a lot to find their inner motivation to stop watching, because many of them come with a motivation that's mostly from a partner's perspective. The partner wants them to stop watch. And this is very important. And it's sad that that kind of motivation isn't enough for them. It isn't enough that their girlfriend don't want them to watch. So we need to take some time to find inner motivation for them to stop, to make it last. Otherwise, they can stop for a while, but usually they start watching again. Or if the relationship ends, they will continue watching anyways. And after that, we have always very detailed conversation about consent. In the level of what do you see, what do you feel, how does she move, how does, all these levels of it. And we can practice it in theory, like how to do and what to look for and what to feel. So we know that it's possible to have all this conversation, and we have them eye to eye or one-to-one, but we also know from our collaborative work with Doing Soon that it's possible to have it in groups with young men, but also young people in general in schools. So we're going to show you now a movie from our material that we have in schools and youth care centers and such. And there you can see the man box that we are working with in this material. So I will play it and I will hope it will work all right. It's a couple of minutes and then we'll tell you more about it. The sound will start in a couple of minutes. It's called the macho industry.
Fattar du nu? Om du ska ha sex med Melina så måste du step up ditt game. Du kan inte komma med någon missionär eller doggy. Du måste visa att du kan hantera tjejen.
Yes, precis.
Okej?
Ja. Yeah.
Ska vi testa? Du är tjejen. Ställ här. Precis.
Så här.
Ja. Sen så liksom Ta kontrollen.
Ja, okej. Ja.
Kan gå in lite under tröjan. Fast de kanske inte har på sig tröjan. Ja. Sen så lägger du händerna här. Sen så liksom kör du. Håll i henne ordentligt.
Aj, fan. Du behöver inte göra på riktigt.
På riktigt.
Fan, det är ändå jag som ska träffa Melina. Är det typ inte lite mer logiskt att, jag vet inte, det är jag som är killen?
Jo, men jag gör det här för din skull. Jag tänker inte vara tjejen också. Det är ju jätteförnedrande.
Ja, okej, vad fan, ingen av oss vill vara tjejen. Hur ska vi göra?
Det är fan sjukt vad jag gör för din skull.
Ja. Okej. Är det okej om jag tar strypgrepp på dig?
Vad fan håller du på med?
Vadå?
Du kan inte fråga om du vill ta ett strypgrepp.
Nähä.
Ta ju bort allt det porriga.
Men hur ska jag veta om Melina vill det då? Tänk om hon typ bara tror att jag försöker döda henne eller någonting.
Sant, det är en risk liksom.
En risk? Vad fan, jag trodde typ att du skulle säga att det var lugnt. Men om det är en risk så betyder det att det faktiskt kan hända ju.
Okej, fine.
Men vänta, men seriöst. Tänk om hon blir skitsur och typ börjar slå mig. Och så kommer hennes mamma in och allting.
Ja, okej, fine. Träffa Melina. Kör missionären. Och gör bort dig.
Men ja, okej, visst, vi testar en gång till då.
Ja, bra.
Och så frågar jag inte den här gången då.
Nej, precis. Vad gör du?
Vadå?
Kanske inte är min grej ändå.
Ja, men hur ska jag veta vad som är Melinas grej då? Fan, jag kanske bara ska fråga henne istället.
Ja, fast det kommer bli fett pinsamt. Kanske är bättre att du inte träffar henne alls.
Ja, eller så frågar jag henne bara.
Okay, I think we just need to say a couple of words about the film. It is, as Andreas said, a methodological material called Macho Factory. And just to be clear with you, it's not only about pornography and it's not only a topic that is being discussed there. It is a comprehensive material that contains many different models that in different ways address gender stereotypes and the existing destructive masculinity norms. And one of the models is focusing on pornography. And what is, I really hope that you all could see the subtitles and like capture the overall message. But a very good thing about this kind of material is that it doesn't give you a definite answer, or it doesn't ask definite questions. It opens up for a broader discussion where different questions can be asked and different aspects can be discussed. And we see that young people are very engaged in these discussions, and different people are capturing different things that they want to go deeper into. So that is a very good material to use in your work. I'm mindful of time. I see that we don't have that much time left to talk about the other aspects of pornography, but I will just want to briefly mention that we've been talking practically about the pornography consumption and how it influences those who consume pornography, their sexuality, their sexual health, and also their relationships and the well-being of those who they have the relationships with. But it is also very important when tackling pornography talk about other aspects like pornography production and what are the realities of people, mostly women, who are exploited in the pornography industry. That is important for us to understand what they are going through and to also be able to, when understanding their reality, to make this informed choice. Do we want to watch it or not? And also, and that is what Debbie was talking about, pornography culture or porn culture that surrounds us in the society. That is another important aspect that we need to discuss within the conversation on pornography. What do we see in commercials and music videos? What do we see in the gaming world? What kind of messages normalize the violence and objectification of women and girls? And these are all the aspects that we address in our comprehensive work on pornography and its harms. And we totally agree with Debbie that one solution is not enough. It is a complex issue and it should be addressed in a complex way. We need a holistic perspective or holistic approach here, and I already said this about pornography production, culture, and consumption being tackled at the same time. But we also need the legislative measures. We need to work more about prevention. That's what we have been talking about today. We need to equip teachers and other responsible adults with the knowledge and resources to be able to work on this. And of course, if we work effectively with prevention, we also need to step up our game when it comes to support and offer explicit support to those exploited in the pornography industry. And also, when we talk about young people, it is important to keep in mind that youngsters are getting involved in the pornography industry at a very young age, and social media platforms or social media-like platforms like OnlyFans that Andreas talked about earlier today, they are kind of supporting this process and learning young people, especially young girls, into the industry. And all of that should be addressed in a complex way. Thank you very much. And we are glad to answer questions if we have some time left.
Thank you
Thank
so
you.
much, Natalia and Andreas from Unison and Man, for presenting to us insights from your practical work, showing the interconnection, interrelation you see between violent pornography and violence against women, and also for showing some examples of how you're approaching these topics in your practical work. We do have 2 minutes for questions. And I see some in the chat already. Do you support a sex-positive approach, and what is your position on this? Is the first question.
Would you like to start, Natalia, or should I?
Sure. I think it's a very common question that we get when we talk about pornography. And that is the thing that we want to work on pornography, and we want to talk to young people about it because we want them to have a healthy sexuality and good sexual life. We see that their sexuality has been kidnapped by pornography, and they have been receiving all these messages of violence and degrading of women and girls. And we also see, as Andreas mentioned, that it doesn't really feel right to them, but they do not have space to discuss it, and they probably do not have courage to openly discuss it and to say that something doesn't really feel right. So what we actually are working for is to have to help young kids to develop the healthy sexuality, positive experiences in sex, and safe and pleasurable sexual relationships. And that is all about being positive about sex. And that is
And
sex
also,
without violence.
yeah, and the same when we meet the boys and the young men, it's exactly the same way as Natalia is saying. We are seeing that their sexuality are more kidnapped by, because they have seen so much porn before their sexual debut with another person that it's formed by that. And we are very critical to the porn industry on a structural level, but when we meet guys, we're not putting the blame on them for the industry, but we can talk about like economics 101, like how is it working? Why are they making so much money, and what are all the clicks on Pornhub doing? So you can make an informed choice of what you want to support or not. So that's a huge difference in when we meet them one-to-one and what we have like a structural, critical way of thinking about it.
Yes, thank you. That was very helpful. The clarification on your positions on positive sexuality, and thanks again for the interesting presentation.